Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us and welcome to our main news bulletin. Here are the top stories making headlines in our news tonight. YANGO drivers angered by the brutal murder of their colleague. Former PRICE-WATERHOUSE corpus director slapped with a 20-year simple imprisonment for murdering his wife. President HICHILEMA assures Zambians of more development in the remaining 3 years. And in international news, key court dates set in Georgia federal election cases involving Trump. And in sports news, FIFA'S presidential aspirant GODFREY CHIKUMBI disappointed at FIFA'S ruling on ASANOVIC. My name is Sylvia Zulu. Do join me with the details shortly.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
And now the news in detail. Online Taxi Drivers Association of Zambia has accused government of negligence after failing to compile an online taxi operation app, YANGO developers, to put security features for drivers despite lodging their complaint to the Ministry of Transport and Logistics. Association coordinator Pastor Charles Kyler says his association has suggested several times that government move in to regulate the operations of online taxis through the Zambia Information and Communication Technology Authority ZICTA and mobile service providers to record details of clients as a way to guarantee safety for drivers. And Sibeso Mate, a YANGO driver who has petitioned the Zambia police to provide details on the death of his fellow driver, says drivers are not safe and that they are compelled to go even to destinations that compromise their safety in fear of penalties. Monday, Camnet TV aired a story in which a 38-year-old Nicholas Chishimba from Lusaka's Kamwala South was brutally murdered by unknown people, with some of his body parts suspected to have been removed. More in this report.
Shimonza's husband, Nicholas Chishimba, has been gruesomely murdered by non-criminals. What's even more sad is that Chishimba, a YANGO driver, met his fate while on duty. An association for online taxi drivers is accusing government of failing to compel app owners to provide security for drivers.
Government has neglected this business because as an association we really wanted to work hand in hand with the government of Zambia, even under the UPND regime. We want to see to it that this online business is helped and is secured.
Pastor Kaira says his association engaged government multiple times to see how best drivers' security concerns can be addressed, but that government has rubbished their concerns.
Still urging the government to come on board and help this online business acquire security measures through ZICTA. They need to bring in ZICTA. They also need to bring in the Airtel and also the network providers like MTN, Zamtel, and also they need to bring in ZRA. This has always been my cry. If ZRA are able to track information of a Zambian citizen, they can still do the same with the online business. We must have both records, proper records on the both ends, from the driver and also from the client. Let what is registered on their Airtel line also reflects on their NRCs. Then by doing so, we are going to provide security for these drivers, online taxi drivers.
And an online taxi driver, Sibeso Mate, who petitioned the Zambia police to submit his security concern on YANGO, says drivers are not safe from criminal-minded persons.
An order comes, all right, the customer books. To you as a driver, it won't really show the details of a person booking you, all right, even where the client or that person is going to, of which it has made us being insecure as YANGO drivers. You know, you can only know where you are going when you reach at the customer you are going to pick, even when you've known now where you are heading to, all right, if you feel you are not comfortable, for example, it's going in an area where you feel you are not safe, like Chibodia or Kanyama or another place, and again, if you cancel, you will be penalized. So like we are working in fear as YANGO drivers. You will find that most of these clients, they will even put Chimbwi. They will even write anything, any name. Then that's the name which will appear to you. You don't know them. In short, you are picking a ghost because you don't know that person. It's very insecure. And we as YANGO drivers, we are saying we are not safe working with these online apps where we feel we are forced to do things we are not supposed to do. So we are appealing to the government of Zambia, and we are also appealing to the Ministry of Transport and Logistics to regulate this industry in terms of security.
Efforts to get a comment from YANGO management was unsuccessful, as their media team promised to get back to this reporter but could not by broadcast time. Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News in Lusaka.
9 graduates from Chipata Trades in Chasafu district of Eastern Province who were sponsored under the Constituency Development Fund CDF Skills Development Bursary component have been incorporated in the production of 1,700 desks. Mishek Ngulube, one of the graduates, has since encouraged young people in the district to take advantage of the increased Constituency Development Fund CDF allocation by applying for bursaries. Mr. Ngulube has since thanked government for the increase in the Constituency Development Fund CDF allocation, which he says will change the lives of many people in the district.
CDF is so in when it pano nezebe skill iliyose ya ivamana nikavama desk hivi under carpentry joiner, so nezebe skill iliyose after na CDF antenga naenda kuja kuma skills kuja napunzira kuja until nabula kuno nizi amani kupanga
iyi program ituhira ka kuangena na mtikawela kunyumba kula katoa ka CDF mbo kutiai mstage mtokuswafuta mu school kula kutiai ku program stage yopanga madek so tumekona na kanga chepe kwa tumstevich mkagule kwa matuzi tumkaambilepo namo kunyumba fomu ya CDF mayuthi mweno vochita mwe karakara pala mbukiza mafomu WDC uyo wali sambira ko kujumba pa grade 9
nenda siko banja kulije kwa chifukwa cha sisi mafomu yara ikuiza era application form wakati na WDC ma area kwitu kusevera wara wakashitanga advertise kuli mafomu ya basari tumungaruta ku ma college tumkashifanya making, so ndiko tukatora kwa WDC kwa hiyo kuti wabanja sa
The National Restoration Party, NAREP, has urged Opposition Patriotic Front, PF, to stop crying foul over the cancellation of its earlier scheduled rally. NAREP Deputy Secretary General Martin Mulenga says the PF had all the time to revise the Public Order Act but were intoxicated with power to listen to anyone. Mr. Mulenga was speaking when he featured on Camnet Breakfast Tuesday morning.
With modern democracy, there is need for things to be changed. And those can only be changed if there's consensus. And our colleagues, the UPN, are only 2 years in government. The PF were 10 years in government. The time that Kampyongo, Mr. Lubinda were ministers, I think we cried a lot about having to revise these things. But you know, power intoxicated them to levels that they stopped listening to anybody. They stopped listening. But now I want to talk it. I want to put it like they're testing their own medicine. But we are saying because we want to revenge, like you earlier alluded to. I want to say meeting. No, I'm trying to tell you that I'm calling for responsibility, even on their part as PF. The PF, if they were responsible enough, the 10-year period they had, 10 years, the PF are in this, and they are the right people actually to be lobbying now that they are out of power to see how the Public Order Act can be revised. Like you put it clearly that there are other organizations like UNIP and many others that feel that this must be revised. I think it's about time all of us put our heads together and start discussing those pertinent issues. And it's just good for the nation. And within this 5-year period, we feel that the UPND and all of us that feel that changes must be put in place, we need to start lobbying now, which is a good thing.
In other news, a former PRICE-WATERHOUSE director, Tenderarai Luisi, has been found guilty of murdering his wife in December 2022. Lusaka High Court Judge Bonaventure Mbewe has sentenced Mr. Luisi to 20 years simple imprisonment. The court imposed a 20 years verdict following the abolishment of the death penalty. Mr. Luisi killed his 38-year-old wife, Peligai Mulingwi, on the 10th of December 2022 by stabbing her multiple times. More in this report.
There is God in heaven. We know it, man. There is God in heaven. It's okay.
After appearing before court for 8 months to hear her late daughter's murder trial, Pastor Patricia Mulingwi could not help but shed tears.
Don't akandibaya pamoyo don't. Kunyepa is a lie. Pelagia never said those words. She never. She was a spirit-filled woman. He lied, don't. He never said. Yes. He stayed in my house and I looked after him to come to Zambia. This man, after all, to give me that burden of, huh?
It's all right.
It's okay. At last giving me the death of my daughter, killing my daughter. I won't accept it. I need prayers.
It took the Lusaka High Court on Tuesday less than 3 hours to find former PricewaterhouseCoopers director Tenderai Luisi guilty of murder in the death of his wife. Instead of life imprisonment, the court has imposed a 20-year simple imprisonment jail term following the abolishment of the death penalty. The convict killed his 38-year-old wife, Pelengai Mulingwi, on the 10th of December 2022 by stabbing her multiple times. Speaking to the media shortly after the judgment, the deceased mother indicated that she has no grudge against her son-in-law.
He is a lie. He must confess, don't. He lied, don't. Don't lie. Pelagia never said that. He was going out with many women.
It's okay, my girl. It's all right.
Huh?
It's okay.
Then she said, okay, carry on with your ladies. Leave me alone. I will look after my children. But you continue being the father of the children. And said, if you divorce me, I will kill you. And he killed my daughter. Now he's testifying false in the court. I went to see him and I said, my son, I forgive him.
Oh, here in 1 Peter.
But what you have done,
let me read. Deceit found in his mouth.
Yes.
Who, when he was reviled, did not revile in return.
Okay.
When he suffered, he did not threaten. But committed himself to him who judges righteously.
Okay,
we simply commit this matter into the hands of God.
Husband,
it is God who judges righteously.
Right.
During trial, the convict claimed to have been first attacked by his late wife after a marital dispute. He claimed the altercation arose when the wife told him that the children they had during their 18 years of marriage were not his. However, when passing judgment this morning, the court established that the convict had an opportunity to walk away when he saw the tension between him and his wife rise. The court also ruled that the convict lied when he claimed to have been attacked by thieves. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, Chief Lusaka Resident Magistrate Davis Chimbwili has ruled that the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, acted within his powers to file a certificate of no bail against the 11 suspects involved in the alleged gold scam. The ruling by the court comes after the defense objected to the third application on the basis that it was irregular, as the state ought to have made such an application before the court of competent jurisdiction. The 11 accused, among them Shadrach Kasanda, a businessman, Francis Makai, a State House security officer, Robson Monga, a police officer, Mahogany Chief Executive Officer, Dr. Jim Belemu, Dagamo Mulungu, an accountant, and Patrick Kawanu, a pilot, and 5 Egyptians have been charged with 1 count of espionage. More in this report.
With the disappointing faces, 11 accused persons involved in the alleged gold scam board a Rosa bus in readiness to be taken back to Kamala Remand Correctional Facility.
Hi, Doc. Hi. How are you? How are you doing?
The accused, who had hope of being granted a temporal liberty, had their hopes cut short Tuesday morning, the 29th of August 2023, after the Lusaka Magistrate Court ruled that the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP, acted within his powers to file a certificate of no bail against them. On Monday, the 28th of August 2023, the DPP issued a certificate denying the 11 accused persons not to be admitted to bail. The certificate was presented by the state prosecutors immediately after the charge of espionage was read to the accused by Lusaka Chief Resident Magistrate Davis Chiwili. The offense the accused are facing is triable by the High Court. Yesterday, after the said certificate was issued, lawyers representing the accused protested on ground that the instructions were irregular for being filed before a court that is lacking authority to try a charge of espionage. In response, the state argued that the DPP was within the law to restrict the accused from requesting the court to admit them to bail. After hearing submissions from 17 to 19 hours, the court was prompted to adjourn the case to today, where in ruling this afternoon the court dismissed the objection by the defense. The accused, among them Shadrach Kasanda, a businessman, Francis Mateo, a state security officer, Rapson Monga, a police officer, Dr. Jim Belem, a businessman, Dangamo Mulungu, an accountant, and Patrick Kawano, a pilot. The 5 Egyptians that are jointly charged with them includes Walid Botros, 35, a businessman and farmer, Awad, 46, an industrial worker, Colonel Muhammad, 45, a retired military personnel, Yasia Monkanta, 46, a security personnel, and Michael Botros, 40, a businessman. Allegations before court are that the 11 accused on the 13th of August 2023, whilst acting together, entered a protective place, which is the Kenneth Kaunda Airport, for a purpose that was prejudiced to the safety and interests of the Republic of Zambia. The accused were recently arrested by the Drug Enforcement Commission in connection with an alleged gold scam involving $5.7 million United States dollars, which was intercepted at Kenneth Kaunda Airport. Despite making a ruling this afternoon that the DPP was within his powers to issue a certificate of no bail against them, the defense have made another application requesting for the state to give reason as to why. Their submission is that the certificate by the DPP did not contain reasons why the accused should not be granted bail. The state is set to give its response on the 30th of August 2023 at 14 hours. Miriam Kaemba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A political analyst, Dr. Alex Ngoma, says the proposal to compel political parties to disclose their source of funding must be taken seriously to avoid a situation where parties may be sponsored by mafias and people with vested interest in the country's mineral wealth. Dr. Ngoma tells Camnet News in an interview that political parties risk being funded by criminals if their matter is left unchecked. Meanwhile, social scientist Innocent Kolala says political parties must be compelled to disclose the source of political funding to avoid compromising the country's security and economic sovereignty.
Transparency and accountability are a fiber of an effective democracy and good governance, but sadly, political parties in Zambia that are mandated to form government fall short in meeting this aspiration, even if they are expected to be an inspiration to institutions and companies in both private and public sectors. Successive governments and governments in waiting do not disclose their sources of funding, thus posing serious threats of the likelihood of auctioning the country to ill-motive highest bidders. Transparency International Zambia has been pushing for the enactment of the political parties bill to guarantee transparency and accountability in political campaign financing.
Regulation of political party and campaign financing will be an important step towards enhancing integrity in our political processes and thereby contribute to a reduction of electoral corruption and just corruption in general.
And the political analyst Dr. Alex Ngoma has charged that the proposal to compel political parties to disclose their sources of funding must be taken seriously to avoid a situation where parties may be sponsored by mafias and people with vested interest in the country's mineral wealth.
If political parties do not reveal their sources of income, then the chances are that political parties will begin to be funded by mafia groups and drug dealers, such that should such political parties win elections and form government, then those who funded them, the mafias and the drug dealers, will begin to demand for their pound of flesh. They will be looking for ways of being allowed to do anything illegal just to recover the money that they spent on sponsoring those political parties.
Meanwhile, a social scientist, Innocent Kolala, says political parties must be compelled to disclose their sources of funding to avoid compromising the country's security and economic sovereignty.
The reason why you find these big countries or these big powerful countries, the imperialists, the colonialists, the colonial masters, all what they want to do is to ensure that they start funding these political parties, because political parties are a government in waiting, where now they are saying, as we are not benefiting with the current political party in power, so when we come into power, this is how we are going to benefit. Are we agreeable? Yes, we are agreeing. This is where you find that the country is already auctioned before this political party takes into power. The country is already auctioned. When they come into power, they just have to fulfill what they agreed with the funders.
He notes that political parties engaging in deals with would-be investors is among contributing factors as to why politicians fail to uphold the interest of citizens.
I therefore once again appeal to the Zambian people through our honorable house, which is Parliament, to ensure that I think as they have put the law under Article 60, which deals with the formation of political parties, in that let them also operationalize by ensuring that they put also a law which should compel the political parties to start disclosing the funders of their activity.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
First Lady Mutinta HICHILEMA has donated 15 mattresses at Kafue Gorge Hospital in a bid to alleviate the challenges that are faced by the hospital. This donation was handed over by Area Member of Parliament Jacqueline Sabao, Chikankata constituency, who also donated 20 bedsheets to the hospital. She also donated 2 walker carts to persons with disabilities in Namalundu of Chikankata constituency.
In her own way also, she's doing something. And in her giving out, she thought of Chikankata. And she said, MP, I'm going to help you at least in my little way. Hence, she gave us 15 mattresses to help our patients. Also, like you said, that behind every successive woman, there's a man. Also, this woman standing here, she also said, no, using my little resources, let me also buy linen for my people of Chikankata to Kafue Gorge Hospital. So me, I've brought 20 bed sheets, linen for the hospital, so that our people can be using. Like I said earlier on that when your people, your patients are in a good environment, even you, the frontliners, you enjoy the environment.
Linen and 15 mattresses. And I would like to say that these items have come at the right time. as we seek to give equitable and good health service care delivery to our patients. And we want also to ask our mom here to further extend our gratitude to our First Lady for also coming in to help and remember this hospital. We would like to thank her also for this act of goodwill, and we wish her all the best.
The Catholic bishops in Zambia have launched the Catholic Care for Children Regional Conference to address critical issues related to the care and well-being of children in the Association of Member Episcopal Conferences in Eastern Africa region. Chairperson and Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Solwezi, Right Reverend Charles Kasonde, says every child needs a family structure which sometimes lacks in child care institutions. And representing Minister of Community Development and Social Services, Senior Social Welfare Officer Kelvin Samiselo, says government is committed to having children well cared for.
Currently, there are about 1.2 million orphans and vulnerable children in Zambia and do not have the support or family structure they need to thrive. To provide family-based child care, the Catholic bishops in Zambia have launched a Catholic Care for Children Regional Conference to address critical issues related to the care and well-being of children in the Association of Member Episcopal Conferences in Eastern Africa, AMESIA region. Association of Consecrated Women in Eastern and Central Africa President, Sister Rosaria Sakayombo, notes that every child, though they may be under institutional care, need a family structure to support their growth.
The family where that child is going to be taken is sort of trained. They are helped, their capacity built as a family. They are enabled as a family so that when that child comes to that family, the child is not vulnerable. The child is not needy again. So their education, their livelihood is taken care of.
AMESIA chairperson, who is also Bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Solwezi, Right Reverend Bishop Charles Kasonde, emphasized the need for every child to grow in a family structure.
Every child deserves to grow in a family environment. However, due to factors beyond our control, some children end up in Catholic institutions.
Gracing the event was Kelvin Samisero, a senior social welfare officer who represented Community Development and Social Security Minister Doreen Mwamba.
Stakeholders such as the Zambia Association of Sisters and the AMESIA region are key in moving the agenda of placing children into family and or family-like environment and supporting family-based care. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a huge undertaking, and the government cannot do everything itself. Therefore, the participation of key stakeholders, such as yourselves, gathered here, is crucial for national development and for the well-being of a child in any nation.
Vincent Piri for Camnet TV News, Lusaka.
Forum for Democracy and Development FDD leader Edith Nawakwi has complained over what she terms police harassment. The opposition leader has alleged that police Tuesday afternoon stormed her residence in an attempt to arrest her for allegedly threatening violence and abduction of the Hatembo siblings in the run-up to the 2021 general elections. Ms. Nawakwi says this is despite notifying the police of her sickness. She says she has been given a crime she did not commit, alleging that, to the contrary, it was the United Party for National Development and its sympathizers who were behind the abduction. Meanwhile, Zambia Police Deputy Spokesperson Danny Mwale has rubbished the allegation and challenged Ms. Nawakwi to report herself to the police. Details in the following report.
The story of the Hatembo siblings is one that needs no introduction in the Zambian political history. It was dominated by counter-accusations on the abduction of the Hatembos And before Zambians could forget about it, we are back at it. But this time around, it is a forum for democracy and development. FDD leader Edith Nawakwi, who was recently warned and cautioned by the police for allegedly threatening violence and abduction of the duo. Ms. Nawakwi, in collaboration with others unknown, is accused of threatening to cause injury and harm to Ferron Hatembo and Newton Hatembo due to a land dispute. On Tuesday, 29 September 2023, police stormed the residence of the opposition leader to arrest her in connection with the abduction of the Hatembos, as she was expected to appear before the police at 14 hours. But Ms. Nawakwi told Camnet News that she informed the police of her sickness, hence being unable to make it for the appointment. She says she is not afraid of being arrested, but that at the moment she cannot risk her life.
Mr. Musamba. And I think that's why HICHILEMA was celebrating that now he has a correct police officer, because this one doesn't have any regard for anyone else or any law. But I just want them to know that I'm not running away from being arrested. I'm unwell and I'm preparing to travel, because I can't even risk to be exposed in a very hostile environment. Because when I was in UTH, they literally smoked me out of UTH. They were camping outside the hospital. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they were camping outside the hospital. They were just waiting for me to get out of the hospital, and then they arrest me. I don't know if they think that when we say we are not well, that's a joke.
Ms. Nawakwi claims that she's being wrongly implicated in the case.
As I said last time, ichi nichipute chao bafuna kuchifinina pamuto wanga. When you do something and you want to convolute it and make someone else look like they are the one who has done something, that is wrong. This problem is squarely UPND and Hakainde Hichilema's problem. The people involved, the Felunas, they were released a week after the inauguration. They were away for almost 6 months. So the question is, who had interest in them?
But when reached for a comment, Zambia Police Deputy Public Relations Officer Dani Mwale insists that Ms. Nawakwi should report herself to the police.
I wish to confirm that Ms. Edith Nawakwi was summoned to report to police last week, but her lawyer requested to reschedule to today, August 29, 2023 at 14:30 hours. Today, police received information that she was unwell and that the lawyer has a bereavement. We are surprised that the person reported to be very sick is sending messages that police are looking for her on social media platforms. We therefore advise that she reports herself to the police.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
This is the main news on Camnet TV. We now take a first set of commercials, but still to come in the news, President HICHILEMA assures Zambians of more development in the remaining 3 years. Do join me with the details after the break.
In our quest to serve nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Deborah, have you connected to the Wi-Fi on the bus? It's fast, it's amazing. I've just downloaded my books and I'm about to complete the series. It's nice too, me.
No, I'm actually watching a reality show. He's about to propose. Oh.
Oh, so sweet.
Make your trip seem short yet comfortable and safe when you use the UBZ luxurious fully air-conditioned coaches that come fitted with amazing onboard entertainment, passenger information services, coffee-making facilities and fridge for your hot and cold beverages, free and interrupted Wi-Fi for your gadgets, phone charging facilities, comfortable seats that recline to offer extra resting posture, safety seat belts, adjustable reading lights for each traveling client, and of course, clean flushing toilets for your convenience. So travel in luxury and safety with UBZ luxurious coaches. UBZ will always take you there.
Hello, Camnet TV viewers. I am your pastor, Pastor Chiluba. This week, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, my wife, Pastor Victoria, and I will be joining Dr. Francis Miles and Pastor Nwaka of the Living Waters and Pastor Jeff. The conference will be at the Living Waters Church in Uzakile, next to the BP filling station and also Uzakile Police Station. You must come for this Courts of Heaven conference. My wife and I will be delighted to see you. May God bless you, and may the Lord keep Zambia. Bye-bye.
Water is life. Each drop counts, and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Get all the latest updates in court news only on Camnet TV. We take you and make you feel part of the court sessions through our in-depth coverage of the adjudication process. Get informed on those who have been arrested, delayed and denied the police bond or bail victims, persons taking plea, court adjournments, verdicts, and those administration issues in the judiciary. Camnet TV is on channel 274 on DSTV, channel 25 on GoTV, and find us on channel 106 on Topstar. You can also follow and give us a like on our social media platforms. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you for staying with us. We now continue with the rest of the news. Movement for Restoration of Teachers' Affairs in Zambia, Moreta Zambia, has reiterated that teacher unions must put aside their selfish interests and merge into one formidable union. Speaking with Camnet News, Dr. Bumba points out that the fragmentation of teacher unions in the country has disadvantaged Zambians. He insists that the merging of teacher unions will help to restore sanity in the teaching fraternity.
Schools, these unions are mandated by law to go and recruit, but they don't do that, which is not the right thing to do. So we are actually saying that as Moreta Zambia, we will ensure we keep dialogue with the unions. We don't hate them, we love them, but because of what they have mismanaged, we are calling upon them to merge immediately. And this merging should be serious, and it should not be just something which must end on paper, because we have heard it before, but we can't hear it again. It should come to fruition. And I think this is what we are talking about. Let the unions just be there of service and let them serve the people that God has put in place in this country, and these are the teachers, and ensure that we promote productivity in the Ministry of Education.
President Hakainde Hichilema says his administration is not behind the country's prevailing social and economic mess, but the previous government led by the Patriotic Front. President Hichilema says Zambians should expect more development in the next 3 years of the United Party for National Development, UPND's rule. He has assured that more health workers will be employed and more drugs will be procured. He says governing country is a serious business and that it is what he is bringing on the table, further stating that it is in the period of 10 years Zambia will testify to the progress the country would have attained. He made the remarks in Lusaka's Mpulungu Ward, Mandevo constituency during the launch of a borehole drilling in Lusaka district, celebrating UPND's 2 years in office.
Ine munani kwatisa bamuna banga bali 20 milioni. Ndimwe bamuna banga imwe bonse muri hapa. Ndine mukazi wanu mamberaga. So ngati tipikira banja tizibati bunga bachita chani. Solution ya bunga si kulibe inangu other than kuikira mutengo wabwino kuma farmers so that they can grow more maize. When they grow more maize, we can now lower the price of meal because we have a lot of maize. That is the solution. Berani Pangono, when we came in office, we found that a lot of farmers had stopped growing maize because the price of maize for the farmers was too low. They were not making a profit. Now we said, let us make the farmers make a profit so that it's not only the trader making money, it's not only the transporter, it's not only the miller, it's not only the supermarket. If the farmer does not make money, there will be no maize, there will be no bunga. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. As a farmer, I know now more people are preparing to go into maize. When we grow more maize, we irrigate, we'll be growing 2 crops a year. Once we irrigate, which we are going to invest in water harvest, irrigation equipment, every year we'll have 2 crops of maize. Crop ya mvula, crop ya irrigation. Then we'll produce more maize. When we produce more maize, we will mill more meal and the price will stabilize. That is how it works. Zambia, tili kukonza vintu vambili, tinapeza vintu vambili vinalivyoonongeka. That's why kulibe manzi pano, we brought water. One by one, we'll be solving your problems. We are aware of your problems. You were crying at kulipe minkwala ma clinics, we were listening. Manje minkwala yambo bwera manje.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Arts, Elvis Nkandu, says government has taken note of bureaucratic process in government ministries that have been hampering development. Mr. Nkandu, who spoke at the Debate Youth Symposium in Lusaka Tuesday, says his office has received information that some government officers are difficult to access and that at times they do not want to attend to public concerns. The minister has since challenged all officers in the ministry to make themselves available whenever people visit their offices. Meanwhile, an entrepreneur, Chilekwe Mambwe, has told government that most public office orders have been contributing to bringing down incentives by youth rather than to help them grow.
Minister here and the president, the PS, my good brother here, can mean good. But when you go down there to the color of the devil, you get the point, huh? I feel for you, Honorable Minister, for you. And I feel for President Daga in the HICHILEMA. Yes. I'm on record. You people watched when President Daga in the HICHILEMA applauded me to say he met me in Dubai when I was signing a deal for oil. And I pleaded on a live broadcast, I said, Mr. President, I have got an opportunity to create even 1,000 jobs with my team. But all we need is market. You are the chief marketing officer. The president ordered his people to come to me so that you could sell this oil. Instead, I was being fought by people that are under the president. I'm sorry, I have to say this.
One important point that I've been hearing, even a lot of callers when we are on radio stations, I think when it comes to communication, I think we have not done enough. I'll be very honest. There's a lot that we may have done, but I think we have not really communicated to the people of what we've done so far. That one I agree. Now, when it comes to also on the issues of the minister, the permanent secretary, and other officers, I think there I need to be, again, very honest that we need to make sure that there's mindset change in the way we do things, so that each and every office could be accessible. Because sometimes you find that the office of the minister will be more accessible than the office of the director of youth. I'm just giving an example. The permanent secretary's office, you may find a lot of people, but you may not find a lot of people qualified director of finance. Why is it that?
Government has come up with a public service domestic tourism loan scheme which will enable civil servants access loans to undertake domestic tourism in various parts of the country. And Public Service Microfinance Company, PSMFC, has signed a Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, with Procha Hotels that will enable civil servants access loans for domestic tourism to various parts of the country. Speaking when he launched the scheme, Minister of Tourism Rodney CHIKUMBI says the initiative will positively impact the sector, which will in turn translate into an improved economy. Mr. CHIKUMBI says the facility is a direct response to complaints that domestic tourism in Zambia is costly. And speaking during the same event, Secretary to the Treasury, Felix Nkulukusa, said civil servants should take full advantage of the product. In other news, Northern Province Deputy Permanent Secretary Lewis Mwape has warned that lapses in the distribution of farming inputs will not be tolerated during the 2023-2024 farming season. His comment follows the revelation by Northern Province Agriculture Coordinator Sylvester Nyendwa that the province has received over 14,000 metric tons of D-compound fertilizer under the Farmer Input Support Program FISIP for this farming season. Mwape has called on the Provincial Agriculture Office to ensure that all logistics for input distribution are in place. Meanwhile, Ministry of Information and Media Director spokesperson Tabo Kawana said that President Hakainde Hichilema has taken personal responsibility in ensuring that the 2023-2024 farming season is better than the previous one. The trio was speaking when they toured the Zambia Cooperative Federation shed in Kasama district.
That as a province, in particular we in Kasama, we have received 100% of the compound from United Capital Fertilizers. Yes, so in the shed where we have ZCF sheds, that's where UCF is stocking all the D compound for UCF. So where we are currently, we have in total of 60,945 by 50 kg bags. Yes. So we can assure our farmers that all is in place.
The farming season last year took off on a bad note, but the president took personal responsibility and promised the people of Zambia that the coming season will be better, and indeed we have seen that it is better. As we are speaking, the country is flooded with D-compound fertilizer, and what is now beginning to happen is that the government is beginning to bring in urea and other legumes, as was
So, due with the network issues, if you have issues of network, it's this time we must test. So we don't want to test when we say no, now farmers go and collect the fertilizer. That's when we start, no, we are testing the internet. The testing of internet should be done now. When you are just sleeping. So the testing of internet should be done now.
Western Province Minister Kapelwa Bangweta says he is gratified to see wheat being harvested in his province. The provincial minister, who officiated in the wheat demo harvest in Sefula, has since called on the people in his province to utilize the land for income generation. Mr. Bangweta says government is committed to improve food security by empowering local farmers with necessary farming inputs and machinery to enable them produce more food to kill hunger in the country. More in this report.
Province Provincial Minister Bangweta on Monday officiated at wheat demo harvest in Sefora area in Mungu district. In his maiden keynote speech at the wheat demo in Sefora, Mr. Bangweta appealed to the people in Sefora and the province at large to maximize the land potential of wheat farming for income generation.
So what is now required of us as government is to support these initiatives so that livelihoods can be improved. So if we change our mindset to be productivity oriented, we'll create jobs right here in the villages, right here in the plains. If the government puts money here, the livelihood of these people will change. But if we maintain what has happened in the past, where land is lying idle, you can see what is happening there. No productivity. We don't want that. The president has been saying, whoever has a piece of land, let's use it productively so that we have enough food to eat.
Well, at Wheat Harvest Demo Invent, Program Against Carbon Extinction in Communities, Chairperson Charles Akende urged government to enhance initiative and support program of wheat farming as they are pillars to combat carbon emission and other climate change related challenges.
They need tractors so that we can have more seed given to our farmers, because these are our lead farmers, already are here. And we are trying to look at outgrowers, these are the ones. So we are talking of more than 10,000 of the same, farmers, the whole province. And this is where we can have a lot of, jobs created out of just this. And imagine that this is already almost ready. Now, suppose this was for the whole province.
We are saying, let's bring in people who can bring machinery. Let's bring in people who can help us with the seed so that we can continue giving these people, and also we can go into the issue of value addition. That's why, as an NGO, as this project stands, we are looking at the crop that can exceed, that can grow during the climate situations.
But some farmers spoken to at the event states that the water pattern in the province is unstable, hence limiting their zeal for wheat farming.
Wheat mabulozi yalumela ma challenges kikuli teoyeru sinyafela kikuli ma waluna atu sharo sainza hulufa halimu kuli mezi niona hazwi kaubebe mama simu mane lukakupa kwa muso kuli halutuse kwa teni inge for this project
kupeni kona kukupa ho kwa muso kimavwa bakeza kuli ya wala unalameni kanao kinona lutise za data abelisa tokoli handi.
Global wheat is among the commercial valued commodities and a source of nutrients, staple food to many households. Mosewa Kabia reporting for Camnet News in Mungu Western Province.
Still to come in the news, FIFA'S presidential aspirant GODFREY CHIKUMBI disappointed at FIFA'S ruling on ASANOVIC. I will be back with the details as well as some international stories. Don't go away.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Hello, Camnet TV viewers. I am your pastor, Pastor Chiluba. This week, on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, my wife, Pastor Victoria, and I will be joining Dr. Francis Miles and Pastor Nwaka of the Living Waters and Pastor Jeff. The conference will be at the Living Waters Church in Uzakile, next to the BP filling station and also Uzakile Police Station. You must come for this Courts of Heaven conference. My wife and I will be delighted to see you. May God bless you, and may the Lord keep Zambia. Bye-bye.
Every Monday to Thursday afternoon, join us for the Lunchtime Cafe. We get to bring to you emerging stories making the headlines, midday news, and we remind you of what political leaders and governance actors said back in the days in forgotten stories. We emphasize to you the importance of eating healthy foods and leading healthy lifestyles on the Nutrition Corner. Get the latest updates in sports and critical interviews. Because we value your contribution to national matters, we accord you an opportunity to share your perspectives during the viewers' reactions. The Camnet TV Lunchtime Cafe is an all-inclusive buffet. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Thank you for staying with us. And now in international news, critical court dates have been set in 2 criminal cases in the United States, accusing former President Donald Trump of seeking to derail the results of the 2020 election that he lost. A court docket on Monday showed that Trump's arraignment on election interference charges in the U.S. state of Georgia would take place on September 6th. Separately, a judge in Washington, D.C. set March 4th, 2024 as the start date for the former president's criminal trial on federal charges related to his efforts to overturn his 2020 election defeat in a failed bid to keep himself in power. Here's a roundup of international news.
Donald Trump's calendar is filling up. The former US president found out his arraignment on election interference charges in Georgia will be September 6th. And at this courthouse in Washington, it was decided he will go on trial for conspiring to steal the 2020 presidential election on March the 4th next year. The decision came in a hearing that lasted just over 90 minutes. Donald Trump's defence wanted to delay the process by more than 2 years, saying with millions of documents to review, they wanted a trial date in April 2026. The prosecution wanted to proceed on January the 2nd next year. The judge, Tanya Chutkin, said both dates were unacceptable, both outside the normal windows for scheduling a trial. Donald Trump's team accused the prosecution of pursuing a show trial, but left without making any comment on the outcome. The decision by Judge Tanya Chutkin could upend the 2024 Republican presidential nomination fight. The trial starts the day before Super Tuesday, when voters in more than a dozen states cast their ballot in the primary races, and comes just 3 weeks before Donald Trump will be back in court in New York, charged with paying hush money to an adult film star.
I think going into Super Tuesday, I think their minds will already be made up. And I think these court cases are not going to sway primary voters one way or the other. They already know who Donald Trump is, and many of them have already gotten behind him.
On his Truth social media platform, Donald Trump wrote, "Today, a biased, Trump-hating judge gave me only a 2-month extension, just what our corrupt government wanted. I will appeal." Trump insists the cases, the charges against him are election interference and he is innocent. Now, he has a firm date of when he gets the chance to prove that.
The top United Nations official in Mali told the Security Council on Monday that the UN peacekeeping force known as MINUSMA is on schedule to depart the country by the end of the year. But El Ghassan Wayne also acknowledged that the situation is volatile and dangerous.
Difficulties have emerged in the implementation of the first phase of the withdrawal plan. The last convoy of blue helmets, equipment and materials which withdrew from the Bear peacekeeping camp to go towards the city of Timbuktu took 51 hours to cover a distance of 57 kilometers, and the convoy was attacked twice by an unidentified extremist element. 4 blue helmets were injured and 3 vehicles were damaged before the convoy's arrival into Timbuktu.
Despite the challenges, Mali reaffirmed it does not plan to alter the withdrawal date.
I would like to say
that the government of Mali does not foresee an extension of the deadline for UN peacekeepers' departure beyond the 31st of December this year.
There are also other uncertainties. Mali's transitional government had welcomed the help of fighters from Russia's Wagner Group. But with the death of Wagner's founder, Yevgeny Prigozhin, the group's future in Mali is now in doubt, something Western countries welcomed.
The Russian mercenary group Wagner is directly linked to human rights atrocities in Mali, including the systematic use of conflict-related sexual violence. As illustrated by recent events in Russia, they are part of the problem, not the solution, in Mali and beyond.
Barring any unforeseen circumstances, this likely will be the last time Security Council members are briefed before the withdrawal deadline. And given the precarious security situation, there is certainly an air of trepidation about what could be to come. But at this point, when it comes to UN peacekeepers permanently leaving Mali, it appears there is no turning back.
And now in sports news, the Football Association of Zambia, FIFA'S presidential aspirant Godfrey CHIKUMBI has expressed disappointment at the FIFA's ruling demanding that FIFA's pays former Chipolo coach Adjosa ASANOVIC $1.1 million United States for wrongful dismissal. Speaking to Camnet News, Mr. CHIKUMBI says the development is sad because the country was meant to understand that the separation with the Croatian coach was on mutual consent basis. He says it is sad to learn that the cash-strapped Football Association will have to pay such a huge amount of money to the former Chipolo gaffer. He says the association does not have money and has continued to beg for funding, and that it is clear show of recklessness by FIFA'S.
My disappointment with the Football Association of Zambia following the latest judgment by the Federation of International Football Associations, FIFA, against FIFA'S. You've read that FIFA has moved against us. And I think we all know that FIFA has always been on the side of the aggrieved. Why am I disappointed? I'm disappointed because the Football Association of Zambia told the nation that Adjosa ASANOVIC left his post or his job on mutual consent. If somebody left after agreeing with the Football Association of Zambia, why has FIFA ruled against us? This is pure recklessness by the Football Association of Zambia, which is going to cost us money. What we've seen today is very bad, and I think we should have learned lessons in the past, because this has happened before to us. So this should serve as a lesson. But I want to send a message to Mr. Andrew Kamanga that we need to be honest in the business of football. Because what has happened now is that the country is going to lose money and football is going to lose. This is an already cash-strapped football association. We don't have the money. We over-rely on begging. We are stretching out a begging board to look for money. Government has to go out of its way to provide funding every now and then. And then we bring more and more problems to try and attract more money so that money is lost recklessly. We don't want that. This should serve as a lesson. And I call upon all Football Association of Zambia councillors, members of the football family, that we need to call out FIFA'S on this. It's purely a recklessness.
Meanwhile, FIFA'S General Secretary Ruben Kamanga says FIFA has notified the association of the decision on the matter presided over by a single judge. Kamanga says FIFA'S was engaging FIFA on the way forward to ensure that justice prevails on the matter. FIFA'S appointed ASANOVIC on 18th January 2022, but the Croatian terminated his contract on September 22nd, 2022, after having abandoned his station on September 30th in the aftermath of Zambia losing 1-0 at home to Mozambique, which led to them being dumped out of the African Nations Championship. That item brings us to the end of the news, but before I go, here are the headlines. YANGO drivers angered by the brutal murder of their colleague. Former PRICE-WATERHOUSE Copper director slapped with a 20-year simple imprisonment for murdering his wife. President HICHILEMA assures Zambians of more development in the remaining 3 years. And in international news, key court dates set in Georgia, federal election cases involving Trump. And in sports news, FIFA'S presidential aspirant Godfrey CHIKUMBI disappointed at FIFA'S ruling on ASANOVIC. My name is Sylvia Zulu on behalf of the entire Camnet TV News production crew. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned.